Welcome inside the American Studios for a brand new episode of All American. I'm your host, Morgan Uber. In week one of the American football season, 7 teams picked up wins, and we'll get to taking a look at those early first impressions of what we saw from those teams. We'll also preview the marquee matchups here in week 2, and you'll hear from a stat sheet stuffer. Our defensive player of the week in American football will join us. But first, we take a look at the headlines. The Green Wave came out absolutely rolling in week 1 over South Alabama, 37-17, controlling that game start to finish. UTSA, on the other hand, they did outscore Houston in the fourth quarter, but that comeback cut short. The Roadrunners fell 17-14, and the Owls flying high in Boca Raton. Tom Herman continues his winning ways in the conference, formerly at Houston, now head coach at Florida Atlantic. He's 23-4 as a head coach in the American, 1-0 to start the season. And you know who's also undefeated this season? Our ESPN analyst Taylor McHargue in his white shirt, just downing Protective Stadium's best Conecuh sausage. Taylor, as you watch the film back, what do you see? What do you like? What do you need to improve on? Break it all down for us.
Yeah, don't like a ton of that. No, we had fun with it. I think that'll be something that we do throughout the season. So thank you to the UAB hospitality staff for getting that up there. And by that point, that game was out of hand. So kind of gave us a little break in the action in the second half.
Well, next week you can make fun of me. I'll be on the sidelines at UTSA trying whatever the best that they have there inside the Alamo Dome. But, you know, Taylor, Tulane, conference champs a season ago, picked number 1 in the preseason poll. A lot of expectations coming into this season, and really those expectations were met or really even exceeded here right out of the chute. What impressed you most from what you saw in the Green Wave against South Alabama?
Well, I thought that they started fast, and that was something that we were looking for. Are they sluggish at all? Is there a slow start? There wasn't. They started fast, and then they also fought through some adversity. South Alabama did climb back and get it to a 1-score game early in the third quarter, and then you saw clearly Tulane pull away. We'll talk plenty about Michael Pratt today and really throughout the season, but I thought it was a good opening statement win, and I also don't think we'll see South Alabama wear their Mardi Gras uniforms in New Orleans anymore. I thought that was a statement opening win for Tulane.
It caused some tension, certainly across the media nationally, but the players, Pratt, Coach Willie Fritz said that didn't bother us. They weren't focused on the outside noise. And, you know, really a team that was locked in and focused in that fourth quarter. One of the things that Coach Fritz said was, you know, they controlled that fourth quarter for 13 plus minutes, in terms of time of possession. You know, how important was that down the stretch, and what you saw from them late in a game where they're up big, but they're still focused and continuing rolling?
Yeah, I thought time of possession was huge, like you mentioned, playing some keep away from South Alabama. And I also thought you didn't see a ton of pass attempts from Michael Pratt, but they were so efficient when they did take their downfield vertical passing game. And those shot plays, they hit most of them. And again, that goes back to having one of the better quarterbacks in all of college football in Michael Pratt. But you still have to go out and execute. And a lot has been made of this Tulane team and the pieces that they lost to the NFL last year. But I know it's week 1. We don't want to overhype a team too much after just one performance, but I thought they looked solid in week 1, which is exactly what you would hoped if you're a Tulane fan, what you would hope to see out of them in week 1.
Pratt, 14 of 15, 294 yards, 4 TDs, tying the school program record for most career passing TDs. What was it as a former quarterback yourself? What did you see in him here from this one where he was able to have success?
Well, the first piece, I thought he was really well protected. There was the one blindside shot where there was a fumble in the second half. But outside of that, I thought the Tulane offensive line kept him upright and was pretty clean. And then he was accurate. We talked a little bit about the downfield passing game, but they felt on time and in rhythm. And that's what you hope to see when you have a veteran quarterback. You don't miss a beat. You get in and out of your sequences quickly. And then when those open vertical downfield passing plays are available to you, you have to make the most of them. And I thought this offense did a great job of that in converting when the opportunities were there.
Week 2, they're going to be tested by Ole Miss, ranked number 20 in the country, who went 73-7 against Mercer last week. This offense, no joke. Trey Harris had a program record 4 receiving touchdowns. What's going to be the biggest challenge with the Rebels coming into Yulman Stadium?
Well, there's not a ton, I don't think, unfortunately, that we can take from their 73-7 win over Mercer. They were overpowered in really every facet of the game. I think for Tulane, it's going to be about controlling what they can control. And it's playing clean football, right? It's no turnovers. It's winning time of possession, winning special teams. They're going to have to do all the little things right because it's still an SEC West roster. Tulane's not going to be able to overpower them. I don't expect they get a ton of pressure on the quarterback and Jackson Dart, but this offense for Tulane, they are effective enough with their shot plays like we've talked about that if they can convert like they did against South Alabama, they will have a chance certainly to win this game, but they're going to have to play clean football to have a chance to win against Ole Miss.
One thing to watch for, Michael Pratt did take a shot late in that game, limping around a little bit, though. Said it was just a cramp, so hopefully he's good to go and looking 100% on Saturday. But one player they're going to be without their leading tackler, linebacker Corey Platt. Coach Fritz announced yesterday in his media presser saying he took a shot late in the third and potentially going to be out for a few weeks here. But Yulman Stadium, one thing we know, it's going to be rocking. A sellout crowd. One place that's also going to be packed, UTSA, their home opener, the Roadrunners, they end up falling to Houston in week one. Let's take a look back at what happened there. A game that was mostly controlled by the Cougs. In the second half, Houston goes up 17-7. The Roadrunners offense really just had a hard time establishing any sort of rhythm. They were able to punch one in the fourth quarter to make it 17-14. But a little too late, the comeback falling short. This was a call that sparked some controversy on 3rd and 3. It looked like he was short of the first down. Jeff Traylor, head coach of the Roadrunners, didn't like it, and he gave his thoughts in his weekly press conference. Take a listen here.
Yeah, they missed the call. I mean, you can go back and look at it. It was short. I could see it was short. They said put it on the 48, and I was like, well, then the game's over because it's going to be at the 48. They're putting it up there. The game's over. And they're like, no, we still got to measure. Well, then when they did that, it looked like it was short. And then all of a sudden it wasn't short. And, it's just unfortunate. We should have never let it get to that point. We left too many opportunities on the field before that we did not capitalize on.
As a quarterback, Taylor, how do you reset, refocus for Frank Harris? What's going to be the biggest thing he has to do to put that out of his mind and move on here to week 2?
Yeah, I think the message from Jeff Traylor should be a simple one. UTSA lost the opener last year to Houston, and you saw all that they accomplished in that season in 2022. All of those goals are still intact this year. And they have to turn around quickly and get focused against a Texas State team that just went on the road and had a double-digit win at Baylor. I totally agree with Jeff Traylor that there were opportunities that were missed on the field, and Frank Harris will play better than he did in this opener. I thought he looked like he was pressing, as in Houston frustrated UTSA all night. I thought they did a really nice job of trying to get him off platform, get him a little bit uncomfortable. He will play better, and I expect that this UTSA offense especially will respond. But that's the challenge, is getting back in the locker room and making sure that your guys are clear-headed and understand all of the goals for this team are still in front of them from a conference perspective, and losing to Houston doesn't take anything away from what they can accomplish this season.
G.J. Kinney, head coach at Texas State at Incarnate Word last year, led the entire nation in offense. They hung 42, Taylor, as you mentioned, a big win over Baylor. How are the Roadrunners going to keep pace? What do they need to do?
Well, one of the things that they are going to have to do is shut down all of the deep vertical plays that Texas State hit on Baylor. I think they were over 80% on completions past 20 yards, which is really unheard of in college football. You have to expect that they won't hit that many against UTSA. I thought that was one of the things that UTSA did a really nice job of against U of H, was limited a lot of the downfield passing game. And you saw it was a back and forth, kind of a slugfest, not a ton of offense clearly in that game. I think there will be more with Texas State. I think that offense, clearly they've got weapons and are more effective than I think even I expected them to be in their first year under G.J. Kinney. But there's going to be a lot of emotion in this game. There's storylines all over the place in this game. I mean, G.J. Kinney played for Jeff Traylor once upon a time. So I expect the Alamo Dome to be rocking. And this is going to be, I know, Morgan, you're going to be there. This is going to be an awesome atmosphere on Saturday.
I can't wait. Yeah, Kenny, Traylor, two guys that know a lot about being able to put up some offensive success. Another coach in this conference that knows a lot about offense, Tom Herman, the long-awaited return to the American. He ends up bringing Kodak Black, the rapper, leading the team out there. As you see, some tunnel vision, rolling piece, some big hits, big fan. Taylor, Kodak Black, what songs do you like of his? What's your go-to on the playlist?
You put me on the spot. I have no idea. I'm so washed. I don't even want to try and take a guess. But this is the kind of juice that we expected Tom Herman to bring to FAU. These are simple things that these kind of things get kids excited. And we talked about in the offseason that I really felt like FAU, this was a team that was a little bit under the radar, and that Tom Herman has always been great at accumulating talent. And even at Texas, when it wasn't working out, they still had talent on that roster. Clearly, they were rolling at U of H a few years ago when he was there. So this is a program that I do think, if it's not this year, it will be quick that he gets them up to speed and they're winning ball games, because he recruits well. And if there's somebody that will understand the NIL game and how to have that impact at the American Conference level, he's going to be a head coach that can do it. And obviously they had a big win against Monmouth in the opener, but even in conference play, I expect them to be better than a lot of people have given them credit for in the offseason.
He was able to recruit his former quarterback at Texas, Casey Thompson, away from Nebraska. Thompson, a really impressive week one performance out of him. How does his skill set really fit the Tom Herman offensive style?
Well, I thought you saw Casey Thompson operate their system like a veteran, and that's what you would expect for a guy that's played a lot of football and has had a couple stops under his belt. I thought he looked clean, and their processes looked clean in week one. And again, against an FCS foe, that's what you hope for, and that's what you would expect. I also thought they built as the game went along, and you saw them just get better as the game went along. And Casey Thompson, clearly that's going to be a guy that they lean on all season, and they need him to perform at a high level. I thought it was great for his confidence to get out in, again, an FCS team and hit some of those big plays, get some touchdowns under his belt. And I think they'll build on that in week two.
Herman leads the entire conference in winning percentage for head coaches. Really impressive, and starting the year off 1-0. As far as, we saw 5 other coaches in this conference make their head coaching debuts. Who was it who really impressed you here in week one?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Trent Dilfer and UAB, and I was there, so obviously I had a chance to really be up close and personal with this program, not just on game day, but I was impressed in their meetings the day before and just what we saw from this program. They operate this like you would see out of Texas or in Alabama, just in terms of the number of staff, and a lot has been made of the amount of Trent Dilfer's salary that he's given back to make sure that his the pool for his coaching staff, that they're being paid at a different level than what UAB normally would be able to. And I think that's made a huge difference, because when you're on the sideline in pregame, they've got assistant coaches everywhere. And it feels just very different than sometimes what you see in the American Conference. And you saw that on game day. For a first-time head coach in college football, their system, they were on time, they were on schedule. They should have and did end up winning big and were favored to do so. But that doesn't always happen. We see all the time where new head coaches come in and they struggle. But against A&T, UAB jumped on them early. Third quarter, they waffled a little bit, but they came back, made it a convincing win in the fourth quarter. And just overall, I was impressed with Trent Dilfer and their staff and how they operated as a program all week.
I love those shots that we saw of Dilfer there early, a man of the people, out at the tailgates, taking pictures with fans, just a really unique coach in the way what he's able to bring there to Birmingham, a fan base that is crazy about college football, and excited to see what he can do here this season. But Taylor, let's keep things rolling with some accolades. The conference always announces players of the week in football, your offensive, defensive, and special teams guys, but who didn't make that list? Give us Taylor's take. Your player of the week is who?
Yeah, Michael Pratt obviously deserves all of the accolades that he got this week, I should say. He had the highest grade from PFF for all the quarterbacks in college football in week one. But if it's not him, I would say it's Preston Stone for week one at SMU. we've talked a lot about how I felt like he was an upgrade from Tanner Mordecai at the quarterback spot, and he showed you a lot of that in week one. They jumped all over Louisiana Tech. There were some garbage time points that Louisiana Tech scored in this game, but really this game was all SMU. And if you go back and watch the tape, very little went wrong for SMU, especially in the first 3 quarters of this game. And I thought he looked just like we expected him to, and the little bit that we saw on tape from him against Tulsa last year before he got hurt, looks like he hasn't missed a beat. And SMU, I really do think this is going to be a team that we get late in the year into November, they're going to be right there as a team competing for this conference championship. And a big reason why is Preston Stone.
Stone waited his turn for 2 years. He was the highest ranked recruit in SMU program history, a local of Dallas. Really, really excited to see what he has the potential to do here this season with the Mustangs and their offense firing on all cylinders so far in week one. So let's talk about maybe a guy watching the games, all the games that you did, maybe that flew under the radar. Who's not getting enough recognition for their performance this week?
Well, we've already talked about Florida Atlantic and Casey Thompson, but from the running back spot, Larry McCammon, almost 10 yards a carry, over 100 yards on the ground, had a nice touchdown run as well. And I felt like for all the shine that was given to Casey Thompson in that offense, Larry McCammon from the running back spot really didn't get enough praise. And I think that'll be somebody that they also lean on in conference play. Was really impressed with his week one performance for the Owls.
They had a balanced offensive attack, and one of the things he talked about after the game to the media was just the chip he has on his shoulder. He has much more to prove, so moving forward, one thing to keep your eye on. And we'll be doing this every week, and I'm sure the fans at home maybe don't agree with you who should have been your player of the week and your underrated players. So fans at home, let us know what you think. Tweet at Taylor, tweet at the American Conference, tweet at me. Let us know who your player of the week and most underrated player in week one were. And as we move along to week two, plenty of exciting matchups. Let's take a look now at the slate. The marquee matchup, of course, number 20 Ole Miss at number 24 Tulane. Just one of 2 matchups between ranked teams on the week 2 slate nationally. And then we have Texas State at UTSA, a game I'll be at the Alamo Dome. It'll be rocking. What's one thing you're looking for in this one, Taylor?
I think, can Texas State repeat what they just put on tape against Baylor? Because they came out and beat Baylor really in all facets of the game, beat them up front, thought they were the more physical team. I do not expect there to be a hangover for UTSA, but that's really what I'm looking for. Is there a hangover after this close loss from Houston, or can Jeff Traylor get his guys up emotionally, which I don't think should be a problem. I mean, these teams are less than an hour apart from one another on I-35. This is going to be a great atmosphere if you looked at just the number of tickets remaining that are available. I think this is going to be pretty close to a sellout in the Alamo Dome, and I don't think Jeff Traylor is going to have any problem getting his guys up for this game.
We've talked a lot about the new coaches. Kevin Wilson will have a tough challenge as the Golden Hurricane have to go on the road to number 8 Washington. And then SMU at Oklahoma, 2 offenses that really went off in week one, but also OU's defense really impressive. Shut out Arkansas State. Preston Stone looking to generate some offense. Taylor, how do you think the Mustangs are going to fare against the Sooners here in week 2?
Well, I think SMU had better play more defense than Arkansas State did, and I think they certainly will. You saw 73-0 from OU over Arkansas State. I think this will actually be a pretty competitive game. I think it's 2 high-powered offenses, and really this is going to come down to SMU is going to have to figure out a way to create some turnovers. If this is a shootout back and forth all game, I do think there's too much firepower on the side of Oklahoma. But SMU, I just talked about how good I think they are and that they could win this conference. I think if they go in, create some takeaways, create some short fields for their offense, they clearly have the firepower on the offensive side of the ball. They can make this game interesting, and it would not shock me at all if they went in and got the upset, but they're going to have to play certainly their best game on Saturday.
One matchup I know you've had circled on your calendar for quite some time. Houston at Rice, the Bayou Bucket. What do the Owls here need to do in this one? What are you looking forward to seeing from JT Daniels?
Well, last year, the Bayou Bucket came down to the wire, right? That felt like they had a chance to win that game late. And I think Rice certainly feels like they are now up to speed where they can beat this Houston team. And you saw how close the game was against UTSA. I think there's some things that Rice should be able to take from that game, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where really I think against Texas, Rice looked pretty good, was on that side of the ball. Now the offense under JT Daniels, they struggled to get going. And I think it remains to be seen how much of that was Texas maybe one of the better defensive units in all of college football versus Rice just struggled on offense. I think you're going to have to see a lot of Luke McCaffrey. They're going to have to create space for him and get him the ball, manufacture touches for him. And then JT Daniels is going to have to be accurate all game long. I thought he was under duress, and when he had pressure in his lap, really wasn't that accurate against Texas. But it's 1 week. It's against one of the best teams in college football. Don't want to judge too much off of one performance, but he certainly is going to have to play well for Rice to have a chance in this Bayou bucket.
All 14 American teams in action. It's going to be an exciting college football Saturday. Taylor, enjoy your Saturday, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan.
Iron steps up, throwing for goal, and it's intercepted. Taiwan Francis flies in to take it away.
What a play.
And Temple will ring that turnover Liberty Bell.
Temple picked up the Week 1 win behind a dominant defensive effort, and one of those leaders of the defense is linebacker Yvandy Rigby. Appreciate you joining us. Big week for you, Defensive Player of the Week. But talking about Week 1, you start 1-0, a completely different defense out of the locker room, held Akron to just 41 total yards in that second half. What changed?
Nothing really changed. We just knew that we had to go out there and play Temple tough. Coach Drayton did a really good job of talking about Temple tough and, established now with the culture and the guys. And all we had to do is just play silent football and go play for each other.
Temple tough, those two words we hear all the time. Take me inside. What is that inside meaning of Temple tough?
Well, what it means to be Temple tough is to be extremely gritty and to want it and to keep and love stacking days. Like, you got to love the stack days. Like, go out there and give your best every single day. Like, you can't take anything for granted because you got to earn everything around here. Like, everything is earned. Nothing's given. So to be Temple tough means that you got to go and go get whatever you deserve, and not what you deserve, but whatever you work for.
You, last year, a big season, big breakout year for you, and transfer it right on over to Week 1, 14 total tackles, including 11 solo stops, ridiculous numbers. How did you build upon that confidence and skill set here right out of the gates in that first game?
Well, Coach Withers put together a really good defensive plan, just sticking together and watching a lot of film, just being in the right place, right time, trusting my brothers that so they can make their plays, and I just have to capitalize when it's my turn.
Coach Withers, new defensive coordinator, he'd been with the program previously, but now in this first year of him as the defensive coordinator, how has he put his own stamp? What's different about the playbook?
Nothing dramatically different about the playbook. We just there's a few tweaks here and there, but nothing really dramatic. I mean, he's been amazing. I mean, we have a really good relationship with Withers. He's a really good guy on and off the field. Love talking to him. He's funny. But our relationship is amazing, and the way he runs the defense, I love. It's stellar.
One of the things that you know about Temple defense, it's aggressive. That's what the staple is. How does that aggressive nature really fit your skill set as a linebacker?
Well, I love playing the run. Like, that's my favorite part of playing linebacker. I mean, I have speeds. A lot of people think I could cover and all that, but I really love playing the run. So, and I think that's one thing Coach Withers emphasized a lot is, stopping the run. We're trying to be really good at stopping the run this year.
That linebacking core is stacked. You have your best friend, roommate, fellow linebacker, Jordan McGee. How do the two of you really complement each other in terms of skill set?
We have everything. I mean, we have speed, strength, agility. Our reading ability is pretty good. We just have everything. I say we feed off of each other. If he make a play, I want to make a play. If I make a play, he want to make a play. That's how we play with each other.
There was this awesome photo circulating the internet. You were awarded one of those single digits, the highest honor for Temple football, a great tradition. You and McGee right there embracing each other after you found out you were awarded the single digit jersey. What do you remember about that moment?
Just all genuine love right there, man. I mean, that's me and my bro all the time when we win something, or even when we down, we try to pick each other up. That's really my dog for real. I love him to death.
Now that you're one of these leaders, a role model for the team, who do you look to in your past that was really a big inspiration for you in terms of values and lessons that you carry forward? Who were some of your great mentors?
Sean Bradley and Chappelle Russell, those two guys, I mean, they were single digits as well. You know, those two guys, they carried the single digit and just the linebacker persona so good that, you know, it was hard not to follow in their footsteps. And I still stay in contact with them too when I need certain information or if I need like a little, you know, tweak in my game here and there. And they always reach back out and they help me out with everything I do on the field.
Your head coach, Stan Drayton, talks about and uses the phrase, Yvandy Rigby owns the locker room. What are you like as a leader inside that locker room? What does he mean by that?
I mean, you know, just not selling for less, just knowing that all the work we put in, you know, wasn't for no reason. And we're not going to be selling for less. We're going to go for whatever we work for this year. You know, this offseason was pretty hard. Coach Drayton made it hard on us, but that's what we wanted. You know what I mean? So now we got to go get it.
Now you fast forward here, week 2, you have an opponent you're very familiar with Rutgers, 2-point game last year. They're a different team, but so are you all. As you watch film here early in the week, what is it that pops out?
They're really big on running the ball, you know, so we got to establish and stopping the run really early. They have a pretty decent running back in the backfield. I give it all credit to him, but, you know, we're pretty good linebackers ourselves, so we got to make plays.
Yvandy, best of luck this weekend. We appreciate you taking the time to join us and looking forward to seeing what you do wrecking havoc all season long on the defensive side of things. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Kiss the ring, I'm the best, unimpressed with the rest, I'm the best. I'm the best.
And it's an ace to finish it for the Mean Green.
I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. What? Kiss the ring, I'm the best, unimpressed with the rest, I'm the best.
Earlier in the week, the conference announced the weekly award winners for men's and women's soccer and volleyball, and right now we take a look at the very best in America's Best. In women's soccer, Memphis forward Sorolla Miller picked up already her second Offensive Player of the Week honors after her performance from week 3. Miller scored a brace in the Tigers' 4-1 win at Iowa State, scoring the first 2 goals for the Tigers, including the game winner. More recognition for the Memphis Tigers soccer, but the men this time. Jackson Kim earned the Defensive Player of the Week. As an anchor of the back line, he allowed just 2 shots on goal against Georgia State. The senior also scored the game-tying header in the 82nd minute. That match ended in a 1-1 draw. And finally, in volleyball, Carlia Northcross making all kinds of history. She was awarded the Defensive Player of the Week after setting a new program record for most blocks in a match. The sophomore middle blocker racked up 13 against App State on Saturday, and the Pirates finished with 19 blocks in a single match, which was also a new team record. In volleyball, we've got a jam-packed weekend, 37 matches highlighted by a Lone Star State showdown, Rice at number 7, Texas. In men's soccer, 13 matches over the weekend. And finally in women's soccer, week 4 action, 20-plus matches, many of these games available to you on ESPN+. In football, 6 head coaches made their debuts in week 1, and we've got plenty from the gridiron in our top plays, including a debut from Tulsa's Devin Williams at number 5. The Golden Hurricane hosting Arkansas Pine Bluff, up 21 in the third. Quarterback Jordan Ford throws up a 50-50 ball, and Williams comes down with it. Or does he? The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass, but after further and lengthy review, the call is in fact reversed. They say Williams completed the circus catch, and Tulsa picked up the week 1 dub. At number 4, to the hardwood, Temple Volleyball taking on Delaware State in the third set. Nikki Shimau, what a save! Not only the save, but the Owls get the point. And we love this angle from the Temple Creative Video staff. Shimau looking like a superwoman through the air. The Owls sweep the match 3-0. We've got more Owls at number 3, but it's the Florida Atlantic Owls this time. The men's hoops getting honored at the football game after their incredible Final Four run in 2023. But hey, Larry McCammon III says, I'm making a run of my own. You can't touch this. McCammon, a 55-yard run to open the second quarter, shedding off defenders left and right. But a flag is thrown. The basketball team, man, they're fired up there on the sidelines. But don't worry, guys, the flag gets waved off. And the Florida Atlantic Owls take down Monmouth 42-20. To the pitch at number 2 for some women's soccer, East Carolina at High Point. Scoreless halfway through the first, and keeper Maeve English says, "I'm going to keep it that way." A monster stop from English. Forget a brick wall. She's a fortress. The ball can't get by her, and the Pirates power past the Panthers 3-1. Finally, at number 1, UAB football hosting North Carolina A&T. Quarterback Jacob Zeno set a school record in this game with 38 pass completions, but this was the best of them. Zeno to the corner of the end zone to Tajon Palmer right over the head of his defender. Palmer is on Bruce Feldman's iconic freaks list for a reason. Size, speed, strength, he's got it all. And what a start for the Trent Dilfer era as the head coach of the Blazers, picking up win number 1 and top play number 1. Remember, if you ever see a top play happen live, you can always let us know on social media. Follow the American Conference at American_conf and use the hashtag AmericanTopPlays. It's a jam-packed Saturday of American football. All 14 teams in action here in Week 2 on Saturday, with games beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. 7 of those available to you on ESPN+. We'll be back next week to break it all down and so much more. We'll see you then.